Hello, everyone, and welcome to Good Journeys Tarot. I'm Rosemary, and today we're going to be talking about the Five of Wands. And before we get into that, usually I'll talk about what's been happening here while we wait for some people to hop in. Um, I fully expect the doorbell to ring while we're recording today because I kind of went overboard on Black Friday, and I think Amazon is going to show up. And the weird thing is that the package says it arrived yesterday, but it didn't. And then when you go online and you ask about it, well, it can take 24 to 48 hours after it shows delivered to be delivered, which makes absolutely no sense to me. So this week, there will be a lot of probably Instagram lives showing Happy Mail because I did order quite a few things during Black Friday on spur of the moment. And also, some things are coming in that I ordered a while back, like the one today. And I probably will hop on and do a live on Instagram with it as soon as it arrives. Um, Also, this week, we'll be starting on Wednesday with Vlogmas, and I will be doing it a week at a time this year, uh, just like, say, Advent. If you grew up in a Christian church or the Catholic Church, they celebrate Advent each Sunday, one Sunday leading up to Christmas. And so I'm going to do Vlogmas similarly. I'll just do the next week's post on Wednesdays. So, and I'm looking forward to doing that because I'm going to try out this thing where you're able to timestamp your videos. I thought it was something complicated, and so I hadn't really looked into it. But I just researched it yesterday, found out it's pretty easy. And so I'll be time stamping it that way. If you want to pop in and just check out the specific day for Vlogmas, then you can do that. But it'll actually be 7 days in one video. So why don't we get started talking a little bit about this card? Um, you know, um, Sorry, my pug is getting comfy. I'm actually on my couch downstairs today because I have three videos in a row today, and I didn't want to move my computer multiple times. So I figured this would be the easiest because the kids all lay down and nap beside me, and they won't cause chaos. I have a cat on one side and a pug on the other side, and then a dog at my feet. And so it's cozy, right, for the fall, and having a little bit of tea too. So took out one of my Christmas mugs or holiday mugs. So this card can have varied meanings depending on whose book you're reading. Um, and I think the reason for that is because in the Golden Dawn tradition, it was called the Lord of Strife. And for some, that word strife denotes um, conflict and typically battle or struggle and that type of thing. However, um, when he talked about it in his pictorial key, Wade talks about this card as being a group of young men, that this is about imitation. They are pretending to be knights or practicing to be knights sometime in the future. So they're basically competing in an effort to learn something. And this is pretty much the opposite of what Crawley says. And Crawley sees this as a card depicting conflict, struggle, strife. This is a battle, and this card is negative. It is always negative when you see it, kind of idea. And you get that from some people when you read about them. In their books as a result. And so you kind of have to make a decision for yourself. Okay. Um, is this card about conflict, or is this about competition? Two similar but albeit different things. Hi, Jackie. Hi, Scott. Welcome. So glad to have you here today. Feel free to chime in. So let's look at how some of the cards in my collection approach this. There are several which depict 5 wands, and you'll see varying characters competing with the wands here. From This Might Hurt, there's a group of dogs. Here in the Uncommon Tarot, there's actually a snake, a bird. I think it's 2 birds and a snake at struggle. Very much a kind of combative kind of card. Whereas the dogs you might see is playing with sticks. This is the Lost Hollow, which basically has the face mask and the five wands, similar to how you might see them in the Thoth. The Mystic Garbage Tarot went with the idea of argument, which is something that sometimes people will see as a meaning for this card. And then you have those that come with a more playful, competitive attitude. So the Slow Tarot, kind of embracing the idea of Waite himself, that these were young people play fighting. And then here's the Urban Tarot, where you'll see friendly competition depicted, along with the Thoth imagery in the foreground there. The Bonestone and Earthflash also embraces this idea of friendly competition. There are 5 people battling to get to the top of the tree first. In the Green Witch, there is actually a magic competition. As they try to master their craft, they're competing with one another. The Hip Chick Tarot actually connects it with the idea of creation, which is what we associate our fire suit with, our wands. And so the people are actually battling with paintbrushes, competing creatively, which is an interesting concept. This last card is from the Pocket of Peers, and this played a heavy influence on what I ended up doing in my card because it's something I had never considered. And this is actually a depiction of someone solving a Rubik's Cube. The idea being here is that as you compete, you learn. So as you struggle to solve this, you gain knowledge and understanding. And I thought that was an interesting take on it. There was a lot of conversation in the book about how, sometimes you would get almost to the point where it would be resolved, and then you'd find that one cube that was in the wrong place, and then you'd get frustrated and you'd have to start over. So as you can see, there's a variety of experience and meaning behind this card, depending on what deck you're looking at and which system you're looking at. So Scott mentions the Black Light Tarot, which expresses friendly competition. But the idea behind this card is that basically life struggle. And but it doesn't have to be a negative thing. With Crowley, it's all about strife, that striving to be the best and being in struggle constantly. And whereas with Wade, it's more about pretending to fight, learning through competition, which is an idea that I really embraced as I was working through this. The thing about friendly competition is that we learn from our mistakes. And so as we are in this mock battle, we're learning things today that tomorrow will benefit us. So we now know what doesn't work. Fives, which is where this is the Five of Wands. Fives are on the Tree of Life are in Gabora, and Gabora's characteristic is strength. And this is the kind of strength like, um, it challenges you, but it also offers you protection at the same time and judgment. So think of this as the adult who screams at you when you're about to burn your hand on a fire, right? That energy of, okay, I'm giving you information and I'm protecting you, but also I'm doing it as loud as I can because I want to make sure you hear it. And so when I look at the Five of Wands in terms of Gabora, it connects to that idea of learning through struggle, and a lot of what strength is learning to deal with the things that we struggle with, right? This is Saturn in Leo. Leo, being that passionate, fiery energy, and but here's Saturn being resistance. And the way one of the books I read described this was kind of interesting, and they described it like a volcano. So without Saturn, Leo would just erupt, and take all of their passion out in this situation, right? But because there's that resistance from Saturn, the fire is still there, but it's not exploding. So it's a healthy passion and a healthy desire, more so than, say, an explosive one. Um, So the way that I decided ultimately to embrace this card was as either a healthy or an unhealthy um, competition. So, and this is whether or not we allow that Saturn influence on Leo, right? So it could be, for example, um, you know, competing within the framework of the rules, being healthy versus cheating, which would be unhealthy, right? So some of those healthier keywords for this card are going to be competition, conflict, brainstorming was one that came up a lot. Challenges, rivalry, sparring, but remember, these are healthy things. These are sparring to learn and grow, friendly rivalry as opposed to, say, antagonism. This is also, as Waite would say, imitation. We are pretending to do something so that we learn about it, right? So, the child who dresses up like their parent or like a professional athlete, or even plays a sport or is learning a sport, even though they don't know it yet. Um, Reverse, there are two options here, and it kind of depends on how you embrace this card. If you embrace this card as the idea of um, healthy competition, then in reverse, looking at this card as unhealthy competition, it could be about arguments, about a long drawn out conflict. It could be about litigation, aggressiveness. Uh, but now, if you look at this card from the perspective of it being about strife and conflict, being a negative card, then you might also look at it in reverse as, okay, um, an opportunity for reconciliation or avoiding conflict, which it still could be, even if you were reading this card as, say, healthy or unhealthy competition. Avoiding competition is unhealthy, right? So those are some of the thoughts that came up as I was working with this card and studying it this week. And when I started working on my mock-up of the card, initially I had created this image, and the idea here for this image being that I wanted to give this idea of, you know, a challenge, right? A friendly challenge. And I wanted to bring in youth because I'm trying to put a variety of ages and peoples in my deck. And um, after I posted this, my thought was, okay, so you've got 5 lines here. So basically the 5 ones creating the grid that we're playing on. But this card denotes the idea that someone is winning. And that's not really what I want, right, for this card, because this card is about learning and learning from your mistakes and your competition, not so much about a winning outcome. And so I redid it and I created a scenario in which now our child is learning from their mistakes, right? Um, they have just placed one of their marks, and only now do they realize that, oh my gosh, I could have won, and now my opponent is going to win. But I maintained those 5 wands in my mind by using the 2 X's and the part of 1 X. And I think this is probably a much better um, concept when we think about what the 5 of wands actually is than the previous one where they were winning at tic-tac-toe. And I think my mind went to tic-tac-toe because of that Rubik's Cube in the pocket of peers, and thinking about a form of competition or competing in a fun manner that caused you to learn. What are your thoughts? Which one do you prefer? And what are your thoughts about this idea of learning from competing and competing to learn? So, the idea of welcome to the playground, so to speak, I think. And if you're following my TikTok or my Instagram, you've probably seen that video, which I used the idea of the playground where we learn to compete. I intentionally did the children orange to bring in that kind of fire energy. This also, for those of you who haven't been watching my videos, tends to be my cards tend to be scenes from my life. When I was a kid, I did not like playing sports. I would try because I had to be there for my brother who played sports, but I just did not have the dexterity and the ability, that kind of coordination to play sports well. And as a result, I tended to start, but then I would quit when I didn't do well. And I'd end up on the playground playing with other kids and doing less competitive type of activities, like, say, tic tac toe or, hopscotch or uh, jumping rope, those types of things with the other kids. So I was more learning about things in my head than physically. Um, and so that's where I drew on this particular image, is from that childhood memory. So for those of you who haven't seen one of my videos before, this is pretty much what I do. I talk about my thoughts from having done my reading. I share my card imagery. And I forgot today because I didn't do anything very differently, but I usually share my coloring of the RWS as well. Um, I didn't really change anything in it, but I tried to keep warm colors in there for that fiery energy. And I just didn't do the sky because I've got to buy some more blue markers. Um, and kind of give you a feeling of my thoughts on the card. And during the week, I actually post on Instagram as I study. So I'll post my favorite cards, and I will post the work that I'm doing on the coloring, as well as I'll post about the card that I create. And this week I posted the card, and then I immediately thought maybe that's not the right image. And so I changed it up, as I mentioned earlier. And then on Sundays, I will chat about it. And if people come in and have things to contribute, it goes a little longer than on other times. Now, one of the things that I do that I didn't do today is I usually share what's going on in my tarot practice, what new decks I've brought in, or goodies I've acquired, that kind of thing. This week I didn't have much. Next week I'll probably have a lot because I did go a little overboard on Black Friday. So the last thing that I do is I draw the card for the next week. And so let's see what that's going to be. And it is the Knight of Cups. So this is going to be the first court card that I've done. So this is going to force me this week to think about how I'm going to name the courts. I did begin to think about recently renaming some of the majors. And I think the only ones I'm really planning to rename at the moment are the Empress and the Emperor. But I feel like the courts, to be a little more modern, they need different names, and I've been working on those names for a while. But now I have to look at it. This is card 15 in my 78 cards in 78 weeks. So I now have 15 cards mocked up that I've put on Make Playing Cards to see how they all look together. For those of you who have not seen my cards, you can go to Instagram or to hashtag 78 cards in 78 weeks, and you'll see my whole playlist of all of the cards here on YouTube. I want to thank everybody for being here and for checking out the conversation on this card. Thank you, Scott, for your contributions today. And I hope that I will see you all again soon. Until next time, good journeys, everybody.